What do you think the intern program currently lacks slash can improve upon, and how do you hope to change that as IVP?
Yeah, okay, so as I shared in my speech, and just knowing how close our interns have gotten throughout this whole year, not to mention like the overwhelming interest in wanting to apply, I think, like, first of all, Maya and Diana have done a wonderful job as our past intern moms, and I think that the system that we have is mostly really effective, but there's still a lot of room for growth. Um, I'd like to keep what I feel are like core personal projects to the intern program, like the culture project and presenting their whys and spending time like interviewing board, just because I feel like that self-reflection and exposure is really necessary and impactful. I would also like to see an expansion in the roles of interns and giving them more chances to really show what they could do as one of the growing leaders of this club. And I feel like it would be really fun to see them take part in planning an event and presenting it with one of the board members. For example, like if they were interested in being like part of the programming for PAM for like CC, it kind of gives them autonomy in choosing something that um, that's of their interest. And if they choose to apply for board in the upcoming years, they would be able to say they had experience in doing something that they really cared about. Um, I would like to also include more activities in like self-development, since that's like a personal interest of mine in CogSci and have a lot to contribute in that regard. And we learn like a lot about like leadership and personality styles on board, and I feel like that's an important aspect to introduce to interns so they can grow to understand themselves and each other.
What can you do to help improve relations with a PASA and its other member orgs?
Um, so in terms of a PASA and the other member orgs, I think that um, first of all, like I have like a really unique opportunity of just being like an OA this year and being really exposed to a lot of the resources that we have on campus, and just like having a general knowledge of like the different organizations and a lot of the resources, and being able to really show up to the APASA meetings and um, contribute like what we've had and have new planning that we like didn't have before. Hopefully we would be able to do like the mixed SC GM that we've always planned, and even reach out to even like smaller orgs like we did for PISA this year, to really see what kind of growth and connection we can make with other orgs in APASA, because I think that's one of the core values of like being in a Southeast Asian community, is to really show ourselves and our presence in this community.
What would you change about board now being a community and culture director versus being IVP, if any?
Um, I think since one of the problems we had on board was burnout, and everyone did so much this year and everyone contributed kind of tenfold what we thought we could have accomplished, since we were consistently pushing out like great events as a club. And with our club gaining numbers, there rides like a lot of responsibility on each board member to provide for all of the new people, and that's definitely a stressful thing to take on. And I think even like one of the past struggles of board before this year was accountability, and I think a lot of what we did this year was try to overcompensate by enforcing a lot of like stricter demands and maybe pushing more than some of us could handle it sometimes. So like I mentioned in my speech, I'd like to um, see some roles reconstructed, and not just the intern program, but also board. And if I get to fulfill IVP's role this year, an important conversation I'd like to prioritize is like patching up the holes where we feel like we need more support, like adding an extra PCN coord, or dedicating someone to be in charge of venues, adding a community chair, another development chair for alumni relations, etc. Yeah, and another thing that could have alleviated this stress and would be something for the IVP to consider is like continuing to affirm each other for all of our hard work, and really creating a culture where we're not afraid to speak up or ask for help. And one of my favorite questions is to ask like, how's your heart? And I find that it really allows people to open up however they choose to do so, and having like a comment box in every newsletter with that question to all of our members, including board and interns, just so I'm like always aware of how I can support everyone would be something that I'd like to do as IVP.
And that's time.